And in business, President Buhari has presented the 2019 budget proposal estimated to a joint session of the National Assembly. The budget is estimated to cost about 8.83 trillion naira. About 2.14 trillion naira is being budgeted for local debt servicing, while 2.031 trillion naira for capital expenditure, amongst others. Joining me in the studio is Oluseun Akininoye of PricewaterhouseCoopers. He is a manager at tax resorting. He's a manager of tax resorting strategies at PricewaterhouseCoopers. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Right, regarding the president's budget yesterday, he emphasized on the fact that we had 1.81% growth in our GDP when compared to the third quarter of 2017, which was at 1.17%. But then looking at it, you'd realize that our population rate is growing higher than the GDP. Population is at 2.7%. What's your take on this, really?
Okay, so thank you for having me. The first thing we need to look at is the fact that when you compare last year GDP growth rate to what we have in Q3 of this year, you can see a slight improvement, which is a function of the recovery from recession. You know, we were in recession for most parts of last year. So I think that's a positive we can look at. Now comparing the current GDP rate with our population growth rate, so that's a different thing entirely. Considering our population is growing faster than the rate at which our GDP rate is going, so exactly. It's something that calls for that the government needs to look into. We need to look for ways to increase our GDP to grow much faster than our population growth rate, even though we might not be able to do anything to the population growth rate because of our cultural environment.
Mindset.
Yeah.
All right, and then how feasible is our 3.01% GDP growth rate by 2019 as projected in the budget? Okay,
so yesterday when the president read out his budget speech, and I saw that the GDP growth rate is being estimated at 3.01% for 2019. I think this is it's a bold one from the federal government. So the question is just to see whether there will be effort to support achieving that growth rate they have projected to achieve. But when you look at it, we're doing around 1.8% now. So and the recovery from recession continues. So we can say if things continue to improve as it is, it might be achievable, but there has to be good effort from the government to ensure that this is possible.
So you're saying that there's a possibility of attaining a 3.01% growth rate?
Yeah, with the right, and enabling environment, yeah, I believe that's possible.
All right, let's move a bit towards the employment. In the budget, he also, during his presentation, he also mentioned the fact that the Empower scheme has employed 500,000 graduates. However, contrasting this statistics, the National Bureau of Statistics yesterday also released our unemployment rate, saying that it has increased from 18.8%, it's now over 20%. What exactly are your thoughts on this?
Okay, so the reports released by the National Bureau of Statistics is actually a report that should put anybody in government they should worry about that report, because it shows that to a large extent more people are out of jobs or more people are underemployed as our last quarter compared to the same quarter last year. So it's a report that says that at the moment we have an unemployment rate of about 23.1%. So looking at that, you can say that there's little the Empower scheme the federal government is doing, the Empower scheme the federal government is doing, there's little it can achieve to reduce the unemployment rate. So what I think the government needs to do to bring down the unemployment rate is to create an enabling environment that would allow private sector players to thrive, yeah? To create an enabling environment that will allow manufacturing companies to thrive. And when you're talking about that, you still have to go back to power, which is huge, because that's what would help in the industrialization and the like. So the government needs to do that. Yes, ease of doing business is improving, right? But there is a lot that still needs to be done around creating an enabling environment, ensuring that there is stable power, and also ensuring that there is security all around the country. Because when there is no security, investors are scared. They are really scared to come in. So those are the things the government needs to exactly. Those are the things exactly. Those are the things the government needs to put efforts in for them to be able to bring the unemployment rate, which is at staggering 23.1% down.
Okay, and then finally, the bulk of the budget rested a lot on recurrent costs, which is at 4.04 trillion naira. Is this a step in the right direction, owing to the fact that total budget is 8.83 trillion naira?
Okay, so when you compare the current expenditure percentage to the total budget, you can say there's still a lot to achieve as far as Nigeria's budgetary cycle is concerned. However, you need to, I think one of the things that drove this up is the fact that the government is trying to make provision for the new minimum wage scheme. I think that's one of the things that would have probably driven that up, yeah. So, which the Nigerian Labour Congress has been clamoring for. So, in reality, it's always better if your capital expenditure is more than your recurrent expenditure. So we expect that as time goes on, the federal government will move away from having a lot of recurrent expenditure to more capital expenditure, because those are the things that can stimulate the economy, that can bring about jobs, that can make the country to be better.
All right, thank you very much for joining us in the studio, Mr.
Thank
Shion.
you.